It'll come as no surprise that should you want to sprinkle a little green on your motoring experience, you're spoilt for choice in the modern automotive world. But it might come as a surprise to learn that you can have almost all of those options in the one car. Yes, the just updated Hyundai Ioniq comes in hybrid, plug-in hybrid or pure EV guises, with Hyundai clearly hedging their eco-friendly bets. The 2020 update sees a bigger, better battery for the EV, better interior tech across the board, and less happily, some price rises too. So, is the Hyundai Ioniq truly a best of all worlds proposition, or is it a jack of all trades and master of none? Let's go find out. But first, make sure you hit subscribe to stay on top of all of our latest videos. And if you want the full scoop, you have to head to the carsguide.com.au website to read my full review.
No matter which Ioniq you opt for, be it the hybrid, plug-in hybrid or electric, you can choose between two trim levels, Elite and Premium, with prices having risen right across the board. What you get does depend on your drivetrain of choice, but largely you can expect Elite cars to arrive with 15 or 16-inch alloy wheels, LED DRLs, a huge multimedia screen with navigation, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, climate control, cloth seats, an 8-speaker stereo, and remote unlocking with push-button start. Stepping up to the Premium ups the wheels to 16 or 17 inches, adds niceties like heated and ventilated front seats and wireless phone charging, leather-appointed seats, and a big powered sunroof. Now, it must be said that the specification does change depending on how you choose to power your Ioniq, so do double check what's included with yours.
So the Ioniq has had more of a tickle outside rather than a complete design overhaul. So there's new lighting, for example, a new vent design, but to be honest, it's not much you're going to care too much about. The bigger news is right here in the cabin. This screen is 10.25 inches. It's the biggest that's ever appeared in Hyundai product. It's clear, it's simple to use, and it runs Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's also some other niceties as well. Heated and ventilated seats, wireless charging, all the kind of things you might expect from a car at this price point. But the other major interior change is this section here with the old school air conditioning buttons replaced by this new touchscreen system that's pretty simple to use, but more importantly, adds a nice modern feeling to the cabin. Now, it's also important to remember that this is a family-focused, eco-friendly car, so we better go and check out the space in the back. So the back of the Ioniq is a tale of good and bad, but let's start with the good and probably the most obvious thing. There really is plenty of room. I'm sitting behind my own 175 centimeter driving position, and as you can see, plenty of knee room. I feel like I've got enough headroom, and you can definitely get 4 adults in this car in something approaching comfort, though you probably wouldn't stretch to 5. They're not so good. There are air vents, but no temperature controls, and there's no plugs. There's no USB or power charging outlets, so nowhere to plug devices in, which is not going to make kids in the back very happy. Elsewhere though, 2 bottle holders in each of the doors, 2 cup holders in the pull-down divider, and 2 ISOFIX attachment points, 1 in each window seat.
Now, what actually propels your Ioniq does depend on just how eco-friendly you want to be. The conventional hybrid will squeeze 104 kilowatts from its 1.6 litre engine and battery combo, all while sipping less than 4 litres per 100 kilometres of fuel. The plug-in version produces the same power, but will also allow you to drive more than 60 kilometres in pure electric mode and drops overall fuel use to a claimed 1.1 litre per 100 kilometres. But the most green of the lot is the full EV, which produces 100 kilowatts of power, but now makes use of a bigger, liquid-cooled 38.3 kilowatt-hour battery capable of 100 kilowatt fast charging, and that will deliver 311 kilometers in driving range between recharges. Now, speaking of charging, you'll get from empty to 80% in a little under an hour using a fast charger, or a little over 6 hours when plugged into a wall box at home.
Now let's start with the obvious selling points of these cars, and that is their eco-friendliness. Now we've driven 2 so far, the plug-in hybrid and this, the pure EV, but we've spent most of our time so far in the plug-in version. Now in that car, we've knocked off about 200 kilometers and we've averaged 2.3 litres per 100 kilometers as advertised on the computer screen. And that is really, really good. And yes, there was some, shall we say, spirited driving involved along the way here. Some nice winding roads, some uphill runs. And while we didn't drive the wheels off it, we also didn't feather the throttle. So I think that really is a pretty accurate real world gauge, which means you're getting a lot of bang for your petrol bucks. Now the only downside to all of that though, if it's really a downside, is the fact that it kind of flies in the face of everything we've read about EVs of late. Mostly when you're reading about a Tesla or a Taycan or even a Jaguar, you're reading about how blisteringly fast they are in a straight line, how they scream to 100 kilometers an hour with all of their torque available instantly. This car, not so much. In fact, it's quite leisurely. Unofficial, very unofficial testing has the number at about 9 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, so you're not going to win too many red light derbies against other EVs. But the flip side of that is it's far more usable than some of those EVs do. You don't get that yo-yo effect every time you put your foot down. In fact, it's much more natural feeling, much like a conventional car, and it sort of does minimize that step from an ICE engine into a battery electric vehicle because there's no surprises. It drives just like you expect a car to drive. Now, there are a couple of downsides though, and one of them is actually a little bit surprising. Hyundais of late have earned a really good reputation for their ride and handling balance, but I'm not finding that quite so much in the Ioniq family. I don't know if it's the pursuit of aerodynamics perhaps, but it just doesn't feel as confidence inspiring when you turn it into a corner. The steering feels a little light, a little twitchy. There's a little bit more body roll than you might be expecting. Now, of course, that's only a downside if you are a corner barreling kind of person, but it is not the most athletic feeling car in the Hyundai family. But really the big selling point here is the normality of the drive experience. Hyundai's made a very big deal of trying to minimize that step between conventional engines into things like hybrids or plug-in hybrids or battery electric vehicles. And nowhere is that more obvious than in this car. It really doesn't feel like you've made some quantum leap into a spaceship or some other new technology. It feels a lot like a car. So if you are nervous about making the step, that's really important. You're not going to be surprised or shocked by anything that's happening here. In fact, unless you're paying really close attention, you might not even notice. It's no secret that these kinds of new technologies are going to become more and more prevalent on Australian roads. It's inevitable. It's happening around the world and it's going to happen here too. But what Hyundai's done here, which is really clever, is created 3 options for those who are ready to make the jump. Whether you're ready for a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or a proper battery electric vehicle, there is an Ioniq that'll suit your needs. And that is a masterstroke from Hyundai, because no matter what part of the buying process you're in, they've got a car for you. Now, I promise you this is the last time I'm going to bring this up, but have you hit subscribe yet? If you haven't, you'll miss a video, and please do head to the carsguide.com.au website for the full review.